This game is about trying to reach the Lakeview Hotel, where our wife ghost has invited us for old time's sake. Only problem is, the hotel is in Silent Hill.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said my wife's name. It's ridiculous. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her? What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Could Mary really be there? Is she really alive, waiting for me?
The plan was to come into town on Nathan Avenue, but the tunnel's closed, so we disembark at this observation deck. The first few minutes of the game are just jogging along a misty forest path to properly set the mood. There's a small cemetery along the way where we meet Angela, who has her own whole thing going on, and past that we follow a dirt road down to a little canal, and we can take that into town. As with the original Silent Hill, there's a bloodstain at the first intersection and a misty chase ending in a dead-end ambush, but this time we get some hardware and fight back. The game uses collapsed roadways and streets blocked with big sheets to restrict the accessible areas, so we can't just run straight to the hotel. Fortunately, the initial explorable space ends up being pretty small, so once we explore the other main streets in the area, we'll find an apartment key and have an idea of where it goes. The first dungeon, if you will, is the apartment complex. After the school and hospital in the first game, this is another good type of location if you need long hallways with lots of doors and compartmentalized rooms. Also some fantastic sound design, so keep that volume way up. From the lobby, the second and third floors are initially accessible. They're both big T-shapes and quite dark. In fact, we aren't allowed to discover items of interest on the third floor until we find the flashlight on the second floor and take it from a mannequin who shares our wife's fashion sense. We can also find an ominous black bag jammed into the trash chute. In room 208, there's a clock puzzle we can't solve yet, so we continue upstairs with light in hand. In 301, we can steal a shopping cart gun, and then we get punked by a little brat kicking our key out of reach. Since we've explored the other doors open to us, we naturally try to find another route to that key, which points us toward the other stairwell. But there's a sudden scream near the 2F intersection now, and a sinister red figure standing past the bars near 208. Inside, we find a dead body in front of the TV who shares our fashion sense, and who had the key to room 202. 202 has the clock key, so we can properly do the puzzle now. The scratches on the wall show where the hour, minute, and second hands go, so with those we unlock the clock and we push it aside to reach 209. Now we're on the other side of those bars, but Redman is fortunately gone, so we can go back upstairs to get that kicked fire escape key. 307 has a wacky little cutscene and a courtyard key. Down the far east end is a third stairwell that skips 2F, and we can get some canned juice down on 1F before completing our circuit past the dumpsters outside back to the apartment entrance. What now? With the courtyard key, we can open the doors dead ahead and get the coin of a snake from the baby stroller in the swimming pool. Then, through the middle hall in 101, we encounter Eddie, who's just the worst. There's no keys in this wing, except for the invisible one, because later on, something won't happen if we don't know Eddie. Fair warning. Before we cross the fire escape, there's one more riddle to solve here. Recall, that garbage chute we found was jammed. The box of juice we found is canned. No chute jam can withstand a swift slam from these cans, so we use the juice to punch loose the coin of an old man. Because that makes sense. That leaves the fire escape down floor 2, which we now open to cross over from the Woodside Apartments into the Blue Creek Apartments. We can decide whether to do some hand plumbing for the safe combination and the ammo within, then head downstairs. On the first floor, 105 has another puzzle lock, and in 109 we address Angela again, but only if we've encountered Eddie already. We thankfully get Angela to surrender her knife and get the coin of a prisoner. All 3 coins let us unlock 105, which begets a key for 209, referred to as the Lynn House, and around the balcony there is room 208 and the apartment stairway key. Maybe take the cue to save here because in said apartment stairway is the first boss with that peculiar pointy person from earlier. Play it cool, or shoot him a bit to speed things up, and eventually the room will drain of water and we can leave the apartments behind. Odd fellow. Now we're outside on the far side of the neighborhood with some new streets to explore on our way to Rosewater Park. We can't go west, so we head north through the park and meet another strange person who looks just like Mary. But this is Maria, and she has different hair and she moves like she just don't care, so we roll with it. Back in town, the pair can explore to find more closed roads and locked doors, and Pete's Bowl-O-Rama, where Maria conveniently waits outside while we encounter Eddie and Laura the kid again. He's moping, and she's making fun of the pizza Eddie's inhaling. It's women and children first as Laura runs off, and Maria leads James in pursuit to a shortcut through the back door of the Heaven's Night strip club where it's implied she works. Through there, we reacquire Laura, who runs into Silent Hill's Hospital 2, Brookhaven. Compared to the apartments, the hallways here are mercifully shorter, but the layout's a little confounding. In this 1F loop, the peripheral doors are all locked except for the stairwell, and the interior doors are all locked except for reception, where we can find the purple bull key. On 2F, in the first wing, the 2 locker rooms are open, one with an exam room key and the other with a bent needle and the shotgun. In Silent Hill 1, it was the boys' bathroom, now it's the women's locker room. Up here, the 2F patient wing is also open, and there's a Lapis Eye key in M2 and a randomly generated code to find in examining room 3. The exam room key we got is for the room back on 1F, and unlocking it yields a 4-digit code for the 3F patient wing. We'll use that immediately when we go up, as 3F has no other options to explore yet. In the patient wing, there are several points of interest. The roof key in S3, where Maria will also choose to rest alone a while, and an unreachable key down the shower room drain, and a complicated lockbox in S14. Obviously, we will return. For now, we can unlock the roof. It appears empty, but if we're thorough, we will be throwed off the ledge down into the 3F special treatment room, which was inaccessible from outside. In the lone unlocked cell, we can find the infamous numbers clue written on the wall with 4 more numbers to decipher. We now have enough information to return to S14. Our purple bowl and lapis eye keys open 2 of the 4 locks. The third is the code from the examining room 3, and the fourth is the one we just got in blood. Our prize is a single strand of hair. I'm sure you've already concluded that we can use the hair and the needle to MacGyver a hook and fish out the elevator key from the shower drain. Finally, we can unlock the nearby elevator to reach and explore the 1F patient wing. Our destination is room C2, where we meet Laura again and get tricked into a boss battle across the hall. Once we defeat the hanging flesh lips in examining room 2, we cross over to the alternate hospital. From the garden outside, we can explore the new 1F, but we still can't cross over to the other wing. We can't do much at all of import except take the elevator, and on 2F I suggest avoiding the M4 ambush and finding the dry cell battery and basement storeroom key in M6, along with a note about a precious ring somebody dropped down there. There's a conspicuous fridge in the day room we aren't strong enough to unlock yet by ourselves. The elevator doesn't go down to the basement, so we proceed up to 3F. There's a cool 3D hand thing with prominent fingers and a locked door nearby. Maria is predictably missing from room S3, but over in the far wing near the stocked storeroom is the stairwell we used earlier. The stairs can take us down and only down to B1. With our storeroom key, we unlock this room and push a shelf out of the way to find the basement's sinister hidden room, along with the process. And Maria rejoins us. So, with a partner, we can pry that fridge open on 2F. Since the stairs are locked, we are forced to elevate our way there, and during this forced elevator ride we get to have a fun radio trivia show with 2 normal questions and 1 silly one. The fridge has a second lead ring for us to collect now that we have Maria's muscle, making us king of the rings. Let's take these 2 copper rings to 3F and stick them on the 2 fingers. This unlocks the door to another stairwell that goes straight down. We've been to basement, yes, but what about second basement? B2 is a long, snaking hallway which you'll want to hustle through, with an elevator at the end that'll bring one of us back to 1F. And now we're pretty much done. We grab the lobby key from the director's room, get a map to our next destination, and unlock the exit. A typically pleasant hospital trip. It's dark out. We can't go back the way we came, so we have to go south through the creepy tunnel. The map first points us over to Lindsay Street, where there's a wrench and a letter describing a box buried in Rosewater Park and an abyss into darkness in the town's historical society. To return to the park, we don't have to re-enter the apartments because the door that opens in darkness has opened. We can take the wrench to the park, where there's a little dirt mound behind a statue we unearth to get a locked box, and unbolt it to get the old bronze key. As you might suspect, this opens the aforereferenced Historical Society Museum up Nathan Avenue. So let's go. Now things start to get weird. We find a hole in the wall leading to a long staircase. We now arrive in what can only be described as an imperfectly preserved Toluca prison intake office circa 1820. This bit's pretty linear until we find a scary hole in the ground. We might as well jump, then punch a hole in the wall of the well to move on. Further along we can find a spiral writing key in a side room where our flashlight goes out and we finally use the dry cell battery to fix it, only to see roaches everywhere, and use the key to open the nearby grate over another scary hole. Go ahead and jump. We now land in the Toluca prison proper. Behind us is the tablet of the gluttonous pig, and ahead is a circular section with 2 cell blocks full of mostly locked doors and creepy sounds. In a cell on one side is a wax doll, and on the other a tablet of the oppressor. In the center shower rooms, it's always the shower rooms, we get the tablet of the seductress. With all 3 tablets, we can bravely explore the dark, ominous courtyard to the south until we find the lonely gallows, and apply them below to receive a horseshoe when we exit. Now we can explore the civilian hallway, accessible through the crumbled wall in this visiting room, and find a lighter in the neighbor visiting room, and a locked floor grate over here. Also a hunting rifle in the office. As you've already guessed, we can melt the wax doll with the lighter and the horseshoe to cast a wax handle and pull the grate open. Scary hole number 3. Jump! Immediately after are scary holes 4 and 5, then an elevator ride a long way further down, terminating at the labyrinth. Ahead is a path blocked by wires, so we proceed to the fork. First off, we can go left and sneak past our pyramid pal, patrolling this route around his knife display room and steal his weapon within, maybe leaving him unarmed later? When we go right, we drop down to a wet hallway leading to an interesting little puzzle. We have an engraved face block out here that rotates the white room ahead, which has 2 doorways we need to align to pass through. By examining both the room and the block, we can rotate it correctly and create a path directly across. There we can reunite with Maria, surprisingly, behind some bars, but we can go no further. When we turn back, we can find wire cutters that have appeared in here, and those let us proceed back near the labyrinth entrance. We now have a series of essentially blank rooms with a few dead ends, but it's not what I would call a proper labyrinth. Through a few more doors and ladders, we find a newspaper clipping, and ahead, a cutscene pulls us into a boss battle with Angela's abstract daddy. Afterwards, we have one more puzzle. There are 6 hanging bodies with 6 sins labeled and 6 nooses next door with a poem to interpret. We pull the noose of the innocent man, determined by the puzzle difficulty, and use the key of the persecuted we get to open the handcuffs and open the back route to Maria's room. Well, she's possibly dead, again, so we continue on to the cemetery with graves dug for Angela, Eddie, and James. Let's jump in our own grave, because why the hell not? At the end of the long hallway we land in, we meet Eddie one more time, and there's an unexpected/expected twist where he totally snaps. Eddie's running with the devil and he's fully unchained, so we gotta put him down. Afterwards, at long last, we can head out to the dock, hop in a boat, and cross that lake to find our woman. On the far side is the Lakeview Hotel. In the courtyard before we enter, there's a little mermaid music box and nothing else to find outside. Compared to the other dungeons, there's a fair amount to explore from the start here. The first door on the right is a restaurant with another scene with Laura and a fish key. In the main lobby is a big music box with slots for a Little Mermaid box and 2 others, as well as the key to room 312 and reception, our destination. There isn't much else to find on 1F except stairs leading up and down. On B1, there's a can of thinner to find near the locked bar door. Up on 2F, across from the stairs, we can unlock a briefcase in the cloak room with our fish key for a key to room 204, which is just down the hall. In there is another key for the employee elevator and a lock puzzle. We can use that thinner we found to remove some paint on one of the photos to reveal the code and get a second music box with Cinderella Aponst. The employee elevator is on the other side, and that can get us into the locked half of 1F as well. Now for a fun bit where we have to surrender our items to a shelf here to avoid the elevator weight limit. We go down and collect the Snow White music box, VHS tape, and can opener from unlocked rooms in this small area, but the elevator can't go back up with that stuff, so we end up taking the stairs to the basement. Down here we do some scrambling around enemies while unarmed in the dark to get a bar key from the boiler room. It's too dark to use said key without our flashlight, but in the kitchen we can use our can opener to pry a light bulb out of a can and illuminate our escape. Back up through the lobby and stairs to 2F, we get our stuff back from the employee elevator. Now we can take all 3 music boxes to the lobby and solve the puzzle about where they're placed to get a hotel stairway key. This unlocks the door at the 3F top of the stairwell where we can cross the hallway into room 312. In here, we have to talk to Laura again and watch that VHS tape. The contents aren't super important, but afterwards we're whisked away to the alternate hotel. We have reached the final brief phase of the game. On 2F, the 2 long hallways have a bunch of warps between them. We want to end up on the east side so we can use the elevator to reach B1, which is partially flooded now, fortunately not totally flooded. Through the Venus Tears bar at the end of the hall is a stairway that's catching on fire, and Angela helpfully directs us to go another way. If we turn around and re-enter 1 second later, we can head up to the first floor and follow the hallways around to the lobby. The array of save points is a clue that a boss fight awaits through the door with the pyramid heads. These bosses will actually kill themselves 5 minutes after the first shot's fired. Once we're clutching both of their eggs, we can exit the front door of the hotel down a long hallway to a tall, strange room where at last, Mary waits above. Or is it? This boss will also basically kill itself if you run out of ammo for all your projectile weapons. And that's it for the original version of the game. But later revisions added a DLC scenario of sorts called Born from a Wish, starring Maria herself, so let's cover that quickly. We begin in the club, where we head outside and make our way to the north end of Munson Street and the fancy house there. When we first enter the Baldwin mansion through the entrance hall, we can only proceed through the living room and up to the 2F lounge, where we can talk with Ernest Baldwin through the door, but can't get in. Above the entrance hall is a white board, and after we get it, we hear a thump downstairs. A new path is opened through the fireplace. Up the ladder is a small grave site with red and black boards and a puzzle. We have to insert all 3 boards in the indentation properly for the Acacia key. That'll get us to the 2F hallway and the kids' room there with some matches to find. At the end of the hall is the attic, where we can light a candle with the matches and get a birthday card. At this point, we head back downstairs to enter Ernest's lounge and find it empty. There's a back stairwell to 1F with a long hallway to the service room, and past the study nearby, we can find Ernest again locked in a bedroom. We slip him the birthday card under the door, and he asks us to fetch some white liquid from the Blue Creek apartments across the way, and we cross over to find it. There aren't any surprises or puzzles along the way, so we get the liquid, bring it back to Ernest in his bedroom for the final cutscene to end the scenario. If you recall, Silent Hill 1 had several endings to unlock depending on your actions throughout the game, including some silly ones, and the same is true here. Briefly, the endings in the game are Leave, the most typical one if we take care of James health-wise. This is obviously the sad ending, as James seemingly becomes a totally unqualified adoptive parent. In this one, we drive off with Laura in tow. In Water, which requires playing recklessly and examining certain things. In this one, we drive off a short pier. By the way, there's no official ending, but Masahiro Ito kind of prefers this one. Maria, which requires protecting and focusing on said character exclusively. In this one, we drive off with Maria, having learned nothing from the spiritual quest the town put us on. This is obviously the mega happy ending, as they seemingly live happily ever after. Rebirth, a Stephen King-esque ending in the Next Fear mode requiring 4 totems. A White Chrism, a Lost Memories book, an Obsidian Goblet, and the Crimson Ceremony book. In this one, we row out into the lake to try and perform a forbidden ritual to resurrect Mary by contacting the Crimson One below. And we don't see anything go wrong. UFO, which returns from Silent Hill 1 in the second revision of the game and requires beating both scenarios first. This involves using a blue gem from the starting bathroom in the hospital garden, on the dock, and in room 312. In this one, we get a chance to cross paths with our old buddy Harry Mason. Finally, there's Dog, which requires finding a doghouse key near the park after beating the game at least twice and carrying it all to the 3rd floor of the hotel, where it unlocks the room next to alternate 312. In this one, we finally get a glimpse at the eldritch canine god that is the source of all evil and darkness in Silent Hill, aka the Scooby-Doo ending. And after you get the dog ending, in some versions you can even turn on a Soliton Radar-esque minimap. And that's it. Thanks for watching.